Elizabeth Taylor was far more than just a movie star. She was a living embodiment of Hollywood royalty, a woman who defied every convention and turned her life into a spectacle of grandeur, power, and unapologetic indulgence. With her striking violet eyes, magnetic screen presence, and unapologetic personal life, Taylor stood at the crossroads of art and scandal, making her a force of nature both on and off the screen. Her infamous love affairs, 8 marriages, and fearless attitude toward public scrutiny cemented her place as the original rebel of Hollywood's golden age. But Elizabeth Taylor wasn't just about controversy. She was a pioneering businesswoman, revolutionizing the celebrity perfume industry with white diamonds, a fragrance that remains one of the best-selling perfumes of all time. Taylor didn't just play the part of a glamorous star. She crafted an empire around her name, leaving a legacy of boldness, independence, and a refusal to be boxed in by anyone.
Bee to the blossom, moth to the flame, each to his passion. What's in a name? Depends on the name. Shakespeare from Julius Caesar. Passion, I see, is catching. I sure hope so.
Elizabeth Taylor's Passion. And now, Lilac Cascade, your gift with any purchase from the Elizabeth Taylor's Passion collection. Available at Parisian.
Yet in today's world, a new figure has latched onto Taylor's legacy, Kim Kardashian. The modern reality star turned billionaire mogul. But is Kardashian really following in Elizabeth Taylor's footsteps? Or is she just hijacking the legacies of Hollywood's greatest icons for personal gain? From buying Elizabeth Taylor's iconic jewelry to parading in Marilyn Monroe's irreplaceable dress at the Met Gala, Kim Kardashian's obsession with old Hollywood is unmistakable. But it begs the question, is she honoring or desecrating the icons of the past? How did Kim Kardashian go from reality TV fame to casting herself as a new face of old Hollywood glamour? And more importantly, what damage has she already done to the images of Marilyn Monroe and Elizabeth Taylor, women who built their careers through undeniable talent, not just calculated publicity stunts? Let's dive into the uncomfortable truth behind Kim Kardashian's rise to fame and the cost it has on the legacies of Hollywood's golden stars. Chapter 1. Elizabeth Taylor, the ultimate Hollywood rebel. Elizabeth Taylor's career wasn't just a series of unforgettable roles. It was a saga of defiance, resilience, and unrelenting glamour. She first captivated audiences as a child in National Velvet, 1944. While many child stars fade into obscurity, Elizabeth Taylor grew stronger, evolving into one of the most dynamic and captivating actresses of her generation. Her career stretched across decades, from her sultry portrayal of Cleopatra to her raw, visceral performance in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. But Elizabeth Taylor was more than just an actress. She was a true Hollywood rebel who refused to conform to the tightly controlled image studios tried to impose on their stars. Taylor's off-screen life was every bit as captivating as her filmography. While other actresses of her time are cautious about their image, Taylor lived her life on her own terms. She married 8 times, most famously twice to Richard Burton, and she didn't shy away from her personal scandals, instead confronting them with a fearless attitude. Her passionate love life, health struggles, and near-fatal experiences, including surviving a life-threatening illness in the 1960s, were all laid bare for the world to see. And yet she remained untouchable, more powerful with each challenge she faced. Taylor's love life alone was a rebellion against the conservative attitudes of her era. Her torrid affair with Richard Burton, while both were married to other people, was the scandal of the 1960s. The world watched holding their breath as the two ignited a public passion that transcended gossip columns and morphed into a legendary romance. They married twice, and their relationship was so iconic that even their breakups were front-page news. But despite the public's fascination and the moral outrage of the the time, Taylor never apologized for following her heart. Her refusal to play by Hollywood's moral rulebook at a time when most female stars were expected to be pristine and perfect was revolutionary. Taylor wasn't just controversial for controversy's sake. She was complex. She wasn't afraid to be vulnerable, showing the world that beauty, heartbreak, and defiance could coexist. Her personal tragedies, like the death of her third husband, Mike Todd, and her struggles with addiction only made her more relatable. Rather than being destroyed by scandal, Taylor transformed each obstacle into another step in her ascent to superstardom. But Elizabeth Taylor's rebellion wasn't limited to her personal life. Professionally, she was one of the first women in Hollywood to demand creative control and financial independence. In 1963, she became the first actress in history to negotiate a $1 million salary for her role in Cleopatra, a staggering amount of money at the time. This not only made her the highest paid actress, but also a symbol of female empowerment in an industry dominated by men. Taylor's Cleopatra deal marked a seismic shift in Hollywood power dynamics, proving that female stars could command the same respect and pay as their male counterparts. Taylor's trailblazing didn't stop at acting. In the 1980s, she revolutionized the way celebrities approached businesses by launching her own fragrance line, White Diamonds, launched in 1991, and it became the top-selling celebrity fragrance and remains a bestseller even decades later. What made Elizabeth Taylor unique in this venture was her personal involvement. Unlike modern-day celebrity brands that often rely on licensing deals and marketing, Taylor was directly involved in the creation of her own perfumes. Her fragrance empire wasn't just a side project. It was an extension of her identity, a personal signature bottled for the world to experience. She didn't just stamp her name on the product, she poured her passion into it, making her perfume an authentic part of her legacy. Elizabeth Taylor's ability to transcend traditional Hollywood roles, both on screen and in business, was what set her apart. She was never content to be just a pretty face. She became a brand, but one that was built on authenticity, resilience, and a pioneering spirit. Elizabeth Taylor's perfume empire was groundbreaking not because she was the first celebrity to launch a fragrance, but because she turned her personal brand into a global business that reflected her unique identity. She wasn't selling an image, she was selling Elizabeth Taylor. In contrast, modern-day celebrities like Kim Kardashian have attempted to replicate Taylor's business model, but the heart, the grit, and the passion are missing. While Kim Kardashian has built her empire on beauty lines and perfumes, there is a stark difference between the two women. Taylor's legacy was about independence, creativity, and a fierce desire to become more than what the industry wanted her to be. She was a trailblazer who redefined what it meant to be a Hollywood star on her own terms. Kim Kardashian's story, however, begins to deviate from the spirit of authenticity. Where Elizabeth Taylor fought for her place in history with talent, determination, and innovation, Kim Kardashian's rise has been based on appropriating the legacies of the women who came before her. Elizabeth Taylor broke the mold, and Kim Kardashian seems more interested in fitting into it, no matter what pieces of old Hollywood she has to co-opt along the way. Chapter 2, Kim Kardashian, the ultimate appropriator of old Hollywood. Kim Kardashian's rapid rise to fame is undeniably impressive, but her approach to building a media empire is vastly different from the stars of old Hollywood. Rather than creating a legacy through talent or artistic contributions, Kim Kardashian has cultivated her fame through a meticulous blend of controversy, social media savvy, and a calculated attachment to the icons of the past. Unlike Elizabeth Taylor, who crafted her own narrative and redefined what it meant to be a celebrity, Kim Kardashian has gained notoriety by latching onto the legacies of those who came before her, especially the stars of old Hollywood. Perhaps the most striking example of Kim Kardashian's appropriation of old Hollywood came in 2022, when she wore Marilyn Monroe's iconic Happy Birthday Mr. President dress to the Met Gala. Marilyn Monroe, the blonde bombshell who captivated the world with her beauty, charm, and vulnerability, was far more than a glamorous figure. She was a deeply complex individual whose image was intricately tied to both triumph and tragedy. Marilyn Monroe symbolized the delicate balance between fame and personal pain, embodying the darker side of Hollywood's dream machine. Her dress, worn when she sang to President John F. Kennedy in 1962, had become an artifact of cultural history, representing Marilyn Monroe's iconic status as both a symbol of desire and the ultimate tragic figure. When Kim Kardashian wore Marilyn Monroe's delicate gown, despite the historical importance of the dress and its fragility, it felt like an ultimate act of appropriation. The gown was never meant to be worn again. It was a fragile piece of history, not a prop for social media stunts. Yet, Kardashian's decision to wear it seemed less about honoring Marilyn Monroe's legacy and more about capturing headlines. The dress, which had been preserved in pristine condition for decades, was reportedly damaged after Kardashian wore it, leaving fashion historians and Marilyn Monroe's fans outraged. Wearing the dress was not just about fashion, it was about using Marilyn Monroe's legacy as a stepping stone for Kim Kardashian's own narrative of fame. By forcing herself into Marilyn Monroe's irreplaceable gown, Kim Kardashian inserted herself into a moment of Hollywood history that she had no part in. This act didn't elevate Monroe's legacy, it diminished it, turning one of the most memorable symbols of Monroe's stardom into nothing more than an Instagrammable moment. The dress that once carried the weight of Monroe's public and personal struggles was reduced to a mere spectacle, stripping away the history, the meaning, and the emotional significance that it once held. The backlash was immediate and widespread. Marilyn Monroe's admirers, fashion historians, and even members of the museum community criticized Kim Kardashian for her carelessness and lack of respect for an irreplaceable piece of cultural history. Yet, despite the outrage, Kim Kardashian emerged from the Met Gala with exactly what she wanted: attention, publicity, and another controversial chapter to add to her ever-expanding narrative. But what was sacrificed in the process? Marilyn Monroe's legacy, carefully preserved and respected for decades, was suddenly overshadowed by Kim Kardashian's need for relevance. Kim Kardashian's actions reveal a pattern that has defined her career. Instead of building her own legacy, she often pulls from the legacies of those who came before her, packaging their history and significance into something consumable for her own benefit. This is especially true when it comes to her fascination with old Hollywood. In her quest to be seen as a modern-day symbol of glamour, Kim Kardashian has repeatedly drawn on icons like Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe, two women who fought for their place in a world that tried to control them. But where Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe were trailblazers, Kim Kardashian is a master of appropriation, reaping the rewards of their hard-fought battles without any of the substance. Kim Kardashian's obsession with Elizabeth Taylor is another prime example of this appropriation. Taylor's jewelry collection, one of the most famous and extravagant in history, symbolized more than just wealth. It was an extension of Elizabeth Taylor's persona, a representation of her defiance and power. When Kim Kardashian bought pieces of Taylor's iconic jewelry, she didn't just acquire valuable artifacts, she attempted to purchase a piece of Taylor's rebellious legacy. But no matter how much of Elizabeth Taylor's jewelry Kardashian collects, she can never embody the spirit of Elizabeth Taylor, the woman who wore these jewels with a fierce independence that Kardashian's carefully curated image lacks. While Kim Kardashian's attempts to align herself with the old Hollywood elite by purchasing Taylor's jewelry or wearing Monroe's dress, her actions come off as shallow and transactional. Rather than elevating the legacy of these iconic women, Kim Kardashian's stunts feel exploitive, as if she is using their fame to further her own agenda. Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe were not just glamorous, they were women who fought for their identities and defied Hollywood's expectations. In contrast, Kim Kardashian's rise to fame has been rooted in commodification of the very glamour and rebellion that Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe represented. At its core, Kim Kardashian's brand is built on consumption of fame, consumption of trends, and consumption of history. By taking pieces of old Hollywood and integrating them into her own narrative, Kim Kardashian attempts to associate herself with the legends of the past. But there's a glaring difference. Where Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe were original, complex, and multifaceted, Kardashian's approach feels hollow, more concerned with surface-level aesthetics than any true connection to the women she seeks to emulate. And it really did piss me off when she wore Marilyn Monroe's dress. I actually almost threw up in my mouth, to be honest. And I think there are so many ways she could have done it. She could have just made a replica and then told people to go visit Ripley's Believe It or Not museum to actually see the real dress. So I just don't understand why they even let her wear it, to be honest. But I did do a video years ago about it when it actually happened, if you're interested. Chapter 3. Elizabeth Taylor's jewelry legacy and Kim's obsession. Elizabeth Taylor's love of jewelry was legendary, but it was far more than an extravagant indulgence. It became an integral part of her identity, symbolizing her power, resilience, and independence. Taylor's collection wasn't just about flaunting wealth. It told the story of a woman who defied societal expectations and controlled her own destiny. Her jewels, much like her public persona, were bold, unapologetic, and dazzling, a reflection of the woman who wore them. Each piece in her collection carried its own history and significance, and Taylor's ownership of these jewels was an extension of her own complex history. Taylor famously said, "I never thought of my jewelry as trophies. I'm here to take care of it and to love it, for we are only temporary custodians of beauty." For Elizabeth Taylor, jewelry was not a status symbol, it was deeply personal. Whether it was the 33.19 carat Krupp diamond or the 69.42 carat Taylor Burton diamond, these jewelry pieces embodied moments in her life, her romances, and her own story of triumph and heartbreak. Every diamond, ruby, and emerald in her collection was a tangible representation of her rebellion against the norms of Hollywood and society. She was a woman who had married 8 times, battled public scandal, and survived numerous personal tragedies. Her jewelry reflected the strength and perseverance, becoming an extension of her legendary persona. This is where Kim Kardashian's fascination with Elizabeth Taylor's jewelry becomes problematic. Kim has openly admired Taylor's iconic collection, even going so far as to purchase some of her pieces at auction. In interviews, Kim Kardashian has expressed her admiration for Elizabeth Taylor, particularly her sense of style and her glamorous life. Kim even conducted an interview with Elizabeth Taylor for Harper's Bazaar in 2011, just months before Taylor's death. But Kim Kardashian's admiration for Elizabeth Taylor seems genuine on the surface. Her attempts to acquire Elizabeth Taylor's jewelry and align herself with the old Hollywood legend raise questions about her motives. Unlike Elizabeth Taylor, whose jewelry was a personal expression of her life story, Kim Kardashian's acquisition of Taylor's pieces feels more transactional, an attempt to associate herself with the icon's legacy rather than build her own. Kim's use of Taylor's jewelry seems less about appreciating the history and the meaning behind the jewels, and more about capitalizing on the allure of old Hollywood. The purchasing of these iconic pieces allows Kim to borrow some of Taylor's glamour, but it's a glamour that feels hollow in comparison to the authenticity and complexity of Taylor's life. While Taylor wore her jewelry with the confidence of a woman who had fought her independence, Kim's flaunting of these pieces feels like an effort to absorb Taylor's aura without understanding the substance behind it. Taylor's jewels represented more than just beauty. They are a testament to her defiance, her ability to control her own narrative, and her refusal to be defined by others. Kim, on the other hand, has built her career on the backs of others, leveraging the legacies of old Hollywood icons to reinforce her own brand of celebrity. By acquiring Taylor's jewelry, Kim seems to be trying to align herself with Taylor's rebellious spirit. But there is a glaring difference. Elizabeth Taylor earned her place in Hollywood's pantheon through her talent, determination, and defiance of societal expectations. She was a true icon who rewrote the rules of fame. Kim, however, rose to fame through reality television and social media. Her brand is built on calculated exposure, controversy, and spectacle. Her obsession with Taylor's jewelry feels like an attempt to capture some of the authenticity that she lacks, a way to legitimize her own celebrity status by attaching herself to the grandeur of Taylor's legacy. But no matter how many of Taylor's jewels Kardashian acquires, she will never embody the spirit of Elizabeth Taylor. Taylor's jewelry was more than just a decoration. It was a symbol of her resilience and her struggles. Each piece had a story, a history that was intimately tied to Elizabeth Taylor's life. For Kim, these jewels are simply accessories, another part of her brand, another way to generate attention. The depth, the meaning, and the personal connection that Taylor had with her collection are lost in Kim's commodification of old Hollywood glamour. The Kardashian brand, after all, is built on surface-level aesthetics. What's trendy, what's viral, and what generates the most buzz. In contrast, Elizabeth Taylor's legacy was about authenticity, individuality, and a refusal to conform. While Kardashian may try to align herself with Taylor by acquiring her jewelry, the reality is that the two women can be more different. Taylor was a rebel, a woman who fought her place in the world, while Kardashian's rise has been marked by appropriation, spectacle, and an uncanny ability to capitalize on the legacies of those who came before her. Chapter 4. Elizabeth Taylor's Perfume Empire. Setting the blueprint for celebrity businesses. In the 1980s, Elizabeth Taylor embarked on a groundbreaking venture that would change the landscape of celebrity business forever, her foray into the world of fragrances. Taylor didn't just dip her toes into the market, she revolutionized it, becoming the first major celebrity to create a perfume line that wasn't merely a vanity project, but a cornerstone of her empire. Her fragrances, starting with Passion in 1987 and followed by the now legendary White Diamonds in 1991, set a new standard for what a celebrity brand could be. Rather than simply lending her name to a product, Elizabeth Taylor immersed herself in the development and marketing process, ensuring that these perfumes were deeply personal extensions of her iconic persona. At the time when most celebrities were content to endorse products created by others, Taylor took the bold step of creating her own. Passion was more than just a fragrance. It was a reflection of her fiery, unapologetic nature. The perfume's rich, seductive scent captured the essence of the star herself, drawing on her love of glamour, romance, and extravagance. But it was White Diamonds that solidified Taylor's status as a business trailblazer.
Bee to the blossom, moth to the flame, each to his passion. What's in a name? Depends on the name. Shakespeare from Julius Caesar. Passion, I see, is catching. I sure hope so.
Elizabeth Taylor's Passion. And now, Lilac Cascade. Your gift with any purchase from the Elizabeth Taylor's Passion collection. Available at Parisian.
And I really like the name White Diamonds. The House of Taylor actually sent me a few of her perfumes a few years ago, and I still have a few unopened ones, and I think I'm going to bust out one of the White Diamonds and start using it. The perfume quickly became one of the best-selling fragrances of all time, and its success wasn't just due to Taylor's star power. She played an active role in every aspect of the fragrance's creation, from the scent composition to the marketing campaign, which featured her iconic line, "These have always brought me luck." Taylor's involvement was more than just a superficial stamp of approval. She understood that her name carried weight, and she used it strategically. Her perfume wasn't just about selling a scent, it was about selling a lifestyle, and an embodiment of the luxury, sophistication, and timeless beauty that she represented. This authenticity was key to the success of her fragrance empire. Taylor didn't merely sign off on a product, she infused her identity into every bottle, creating a lasting connection with her audience. White Diamonds wasn't just a perfume, it was a piece of Elizabeth Taylor, an invitation to experience the world through her eyes. This level of involvement and personal connection is what set Elizabeth Taylor apart from her peers, and what continues to set her apart from the modern-day celebrities who have followed in her footsteps. Today, celebrities like Kim Kardashian have taken the blueprint that Taylor created and applied it to their own beauty and fragrance lines. Kardashian's beauty empire, which includes fragrances, cosmetics, and shapewear, is undeniably successful, but it lacks the authenticity that made Elizabeth Taylor's venture so groundbreaking. Where Taylor's perfumes were a reflection of her true self, Kim's products often feel like calculated moves designed to capitalize on trends and maximize profits. Kardashian's various business ventures are meticulously timed to align with current beauty crazes, whether it's contouring, matte lipsticks, or body shapewear. Her products, while popular, feel more like a reflection of market research than personal passion. There's a sense that the Kardashian brand is built on what sells, rather than on her deep connection with the audience or a genuine representation of who she is. Taylor's White Diamonds, on the other hand, was a natural extension of her glamour and sophistication. It wasn't about following trends or capitalizing on fads. It was about embodying the timeless beauty that Taylor herself represented. The perfume was an instant classic because it was a true reflection of its creator. It wasn't rushed to the market to meet a demand, it was carefully crafted to last. Even today, White Diamonds remains one of the best-selling celebrity fragrances, a testament to the enduring power of Elizabeth Taylor's legacy. Kardashian, by contrast, has launched perfume after perfume, makeup collection after makeup collection, each tied to a specific marketing push or social media campaign. Her strategy is highly effective in terms of generating revenue, but it lacks the soul that made Taylor's products so iconic. Elizabeth Taylor's campaigns for White Diamonds were steeped in elegance and sophistication, emphasizing her personal connection to the product. Kim's campaigns, on the other hand, lean heavily on social media hype, influencer culture, and instant gratification. Kim's empire is built for a fast-paced digital world where attention spans are short and trends are fleeting. Elizabeth's empire was built to last, just like her perfumes. Chapter 5. The damage done to old Hollywood legacies. Kim Kardashian's continual attempts to insert herself into the legacies of old Hollywood icons like Marilyn Monroe and Elizabeth Taylor have sparked significant outrage, not just among fans of classic cinema, but among historians, fashion experts, and cultural critics alike. By commodifying these legends for her own personal gain, Kim has reduced the rich, complex legacies of these women to mere accessories in her own pursuit of relevance and attention. The damage this causes to old Hollywood's carefully preserved history cannot be understated. When Kardashian wore Marilyn Monroe's iconic happy birthday dress in 2022, she crossed the line that many believe should have never been approached. Marilyn Monroe's dress is not just an item of clothing, it's a living piece of history, a symbol of Marilyn Monroe's unique and complicated role in both Hollywood and American culture. Marilyn Monroe's breathy rendition of Happy Birthday to President John F. Kennedy in 1962 became one of the most talked about moments of her career, and the gown she wore was an intrinsic part of that memory, preserved for its significance. The dress is a symbol of Marilyn Monroe's allure, her vulnerability, and her tragic life, encapsulating the contradictions of her fame. Marilyn Monroe was far more than just a glamorous star. She was a deeply misunderstood and often exploited woman who battled personal demons while maintaining a facade of perfection for the public. Wearing her dress wasn't just a fashion faux pas, it was a violation of the sanctity of Marilyn Monroe's legacy. The gown, fragile from age and meticulously preserved, was reportedly damaged during Kardashian's brief wear. And the outrage that followed wasn't just about the physical harm to the dress, it was about the disrespect to Marilyn Monroe herself. And see, she wanted all of this attention. This is why she did it. She probably knew people would be mad, or maybe she just didn't care, as long as people were talking about her. I mean, in theory, it worked. By reducing Monroe's gown to a prop for Instagram likes, Kardashian commodified a piece of cultural history, turning it to another moment in her self-marketing machine. To Kardashian, Monroe's dress was simply a vehicle to generate buzz at the Met Gala. But to fans of Monroe and historians, it was an awful act that stripped the dress of its historical context and significance. Because if you think about it, maybe 100 years from now, 50 years from now, people are going to look back and maybe think, oh, that's Kim's dress that she wore from Marilyn Monroe. You know what I mean? So she's rewriting history for herself. What had been a symbol of Monroe's complex, tragic, and fasting life turned into a superficial fashion statement, its deeper meaning erased by Kim's pursuit of headlines. This destruction with Marilyn Monroe's dress is not an isolated case, but part of a larger pattern in Kim's career. Her obsession with old Hollywood, whether through buying Elizabeth Taylor's jewelry or using Marilyn Monroe's legacy to enhance her own brand, speaks to a deeper issue: Kim's willingness to exploit the past without understanding or respecting it. Old Hollywood stars like Taylor and Monroe were trailblazers who earned their legacies through all their struggles and personal sacrifice. They broke barriers and changed the way women were seen in the entertainment industry. By latching onto their images without the same depth of experience or understanding, Kim Kardashian dilutes their significance. The damage extends beyond Marilyn's dress and Taylor's jewelry. It's a broader assault on the integrity of old Hollywood's legacy. These icons weren't just famous, they were complex figures who navigated a ruthless industry with grace and determination, and with a great personal cost. Kim's appropriation of their legacies reduces their achievements to mere commodities, feeding the notion that fame is something that can be bought or borrowed rather than earned. And that's so true. She just tries to buy her way instead of actually earning it. And for Elizabeth Taylor, her jewelry was personal. Each piece symbolized a chapter in her life. I mean, if you're going to buy her jewelry, then put it on display. Let other people see it. Maybe open a museum. Taylor, unlike many other peers, refused to conform to Hollywood standards. And she lived her own life in her own terms. And by purchasing this jewelry, flaunting it in public appearances, her attempts to co-opt Taylor's rebellious spirit. But there's a stark difference. Taylor's jewels were a symbol of her hard-won freedom, while Kim's were a symbol of status. And this raises an important question. How far will she go in her attempt to crown herself the new queen of glamour? By continuing to insert herself into the legacies of old Hollywood stars. She isn't just appropriating their style, she's rewriting history to fit her own narrative, which I find disturbing. And these icons of old Hollywood weren't just famous for being famous, they were artists, innovators, rebels who changed the cultural landscape. Monroe's vulnerability, Elizabeth Taylor's defiance, their shared ability to transcend the confines of their eras are what made them legendary. I mean, if it were me and I was honoring Marilyn Monroe, I would have just made a replica dress and wore it to the Met Gala, and then admired and told people how much she admired Marilyn Monroe. Same with the Elizabeth Taylor jewelry. Fine if you want to buy it, but I don't know. I guess you could wear it, but it just depends on the circumstances, in my opinion. I mean, there's nothing wrong with honoring these figures and admiring them. And old Hollywood legacies are fragile, not in just a literal sense of a 60-year-old gown, but in a cultural sense of how these icons are remembered. When Kim wears Monroe's dress or buys Elizabeth Taylor's jewelry, she's taking from their legacies without contributing any substance in return. It diminishes the cultural significance of old Hollywood itself. And I bet Marilyn Monroe would be very upset to find that happened to her dress. The modern-day legacy of Elizabeth Taylor and Kim Kardashian's impact on Elizabeth Taylor's legacy is one of strength, resilience, and deep connection with her audience. She was the ultimate rebel who transcended Hollywood's expectations and left behind more than just a name. But with celebrities like Kim Kardashian trying to latch onto old Hollywood icons, the legacy of these legends is at risk of being diluted for clicks, likes, and personal gain. While Taylor's impact on beauty, fashion, and business is undeniable, Kim's attempt to replicate her success feels empty in comparison. Taylor was authentic in her defiance. Kim is a pale imitation of building a brand on the backs of legends without respecting the foundations laid. The truth is, Elizabeth Taylor's rebellious spirit can't be bought, no matter how many pieces of jewelry Kim adds to her collection. Real legends create their own legacy. They don't ride on the coattails of those who came before. Thank you so much for watching. I know there's that new BBC show about Elizabeth Taylor that Kim Kardashian is producing. I think it's out now. I am curious to watch it. I do admire Elizabeth Taylor, but I felt like making this video more as a rant because obviously I'm a fan of old Hollywood. I'm a fan of Marilyn Monroe. So let me know in the comments below what your thoughts on all of this. And don't forget to check out some of my other videos.